Well, my first boomer shooter video did really well, like really well. So I'd be an idiot not to capitalise on that with a part 2 Retro Boogaloo. Yes, I am making it my mission to track down all the modern boomer shooters on the market. I guess you could say this is my E1M1. But why am I making a part 2? Because I found a load more boomer shooters, or boomer core shooters, whatever you want to call them, and because the first part is the most watched video on my channel, so I got a load of supportive feedback and I feel ready to continue and improve upon what went wrong with the last video. Thank you for all the nice comments and shit, it keeps me going. I'll do anything for compliments. So yes, I have a handful more takes on boomer shooters that you should try out. We did 7 last time and by God I'll fucking do it again. Tell them, Goofy.
I'll fucking do it again.
So the last video, as well as it did, it was a bit of a New Blood simp fest because they made most of the games on the list for that first video. This time, sorry Dave, but you only get one spot this go around. It just so happens to be your company's biggest release yet though, so GG. And hey, if the world is to stop spinning before 2021 and humanity is to die out, I can rest easy knowing that this is what people will remember me by, as opposed to some pathetic controversy that sparks up a Twitter storm that's all people talk about for like 2 months before it's settled with a televised boxing match or some shit. No, I live by the sword, I die by the sword. On with the video. First up, Ultrakill, the poor man's doom. But yes, first up on our list is the recently released Ultrakill. I mentioned it as an upcoming title in the last video, and it's here. It really is Doom 2016 on a budget, but it's so good. The premise is simple. Mankind has created robots that run on blood as opposed to gasoline or petrol. Why? Fuck knows, because we need an evil corporation to hate in this game, I guess. And these blood-fueled robots are running out of human smoothie, so they are pissed. The robots are liberating hell itself. You fight the hordes of hell and use blood to heal yourself. So you charge into enemies sliding about, hitting the crouch key and mash enemies into a pulp to harvest their juicy organs. It'll rate your ripping and tearing too with a score system reminiscent of Devil May Cry or Resident Evil. You can jump really high in the air, dash around, slide like in Titanfall, and it has a big emphasis on the whole idea of once you start moving, don't fucking stop. Sliding is a great way to get your score multiplier to go up and it'll help you to zoom through levels like Rogue Runner. If its retro graphical settings such as the vertex wobbling and polygonal carnage is too much for your fragile little eyes, you can turn that off and have the game look marginally more recent in its graphics, but why do that when you can soak up all the polygonal carnage possible like a true retro slut? The weapons are pretty neat too. You can get variations of the weapons like the revolver. I just unlocked a variation of the revolver that allows me to press alt fire to throw a coin in the air. If I then shoot the coin, it will deflect the bullet, allowing me to chain together some sick ass gnarly combos, dude. Now, I got into a boss fight with a robot that has a shotgun in each arm, and once you riddle his face with bullets, he drops one, saying he gets to repeat until he drops his other shotgun. And then the mad fucker still doesn't know when he's beat, gets up again throwing his sword at you like a ninja. So yeah, I don't know how many weapons are in the final release, but in the demo there were 3. The pistol and its mods, the shotgun and its mods, and the nail gun and its mods. So, I'm not sure if the Wizard of Osh himself, Dave Oshry, has added more weapons to the game, but with all the variants of the few weapons, there's enough spice to keep the game varied. However, looking at the preview trailer, there are more weapons, and I just need to binge play this game on my week off to unlock them. Now, the bosses are tough the first few goes around. The game is graceful in its checkpoint system, and it will drop one before you go through the door to the boss arena, but all the bosses are assholes in that they will throw more stuff at you as the fight continues, meaning you'll fail, respawn, get a bit further, fail again, and keep trying to beat the boss until you see its lifeless carcass fall to the floor amongst a heap of blood. You can punch most of the projectiles fired at you to hit them back at the unlucky bastard that tried to shoot you. There are many sectors that you can shoot glass walkways and watch the demons fall to their bloody and brutal demise, often as they fall into some machinery and get shredded like Peppa Pig in a slaughterhouse. The gameplay is really smooth and is a blast to play. The game is in early access, it's listed on Steam for £15.49, $19.88 or €16.98. Or thereabouts. I'm not exactly sure how Steam does its conversions. All conversions I make in this video are powered by Google, so they should at least be fairly accurate, give or take a few cents, round it up or down to the nearest dollar or euro. Nightmare Reaper, or BJ's Bad Dream. Nightmare Reaper is basically Sucker Punch the game. It has all the creepy occult levels and enemies that Return to Castle Wolfenstein does, and it looks retro as all hell. I don't really know which game to compare it to, because yeah, it's as blocky as classic Doom and Wolfenstein, and plays like Quake, but it isn't as polygonal in its graphical design. It feels closest in gameplay in terms to Return to Castle Wolfenstein, with its focus on the occult happenings of the Nazi regime. Also, a fun fact, Castle Wolfenstein was based off of Wewelsburg Castle in Western Germany, the castle that Heinrich Himmler himself lived in and turned into the SS's central cult site. Just a fun fact for you. But basically you, the unnamed mental patient of whom is definitely a strong female protagonist, just like in Sucker Punch, are in a mental asylum and sort of having hallucinations of fighting Nazis and the undead, managing your weapons through this weird GBA screen. There's a lot of weapons to find and use to dispatch your foes, however one thing I will criticise this game for is that it does not tell you how to equip them. You have to press tab, click one of your selected weapons and then click the one you want to swap it out for. I found it out randomly by clicking things. These weapons range from your typical fare of SMGs, shotguns and pistols to magic staffs, arcane spellbooks and even a knife. I think the most insane thing is that Nightmare Reaper runs on Unreal Engine 4, which is a big game engine that has been the V8 under the hood for so many games, such as Fortnite, Hellblade, Gears 5, Borderlands 3, Shenmue 3 and Street Fighter 5 and many more. So the fact that a retro FPS is using such a modern game engine is pretty impressive. The levels are random and so are the weapon drops, making this a bit of a roguelike. On multiple occasions, you'll barely survive a room only to find an upgrade that would have really helped out. Some monsters will drop health when you blast them with your boomsticks and sacrifice them to Romero, but other than that, there are no health pickups to be found in levels. It certainly nails the retro aesthetic down to a T, and in many ways it is perfect. The soundtrack slaps, the weapons are more often than not great, and the level design is beautiful even if its 16-bit nature can make it a bit tricky to visualise what the actual fuck is going on due to the pixel carnage vibe of the game. Now, because of the fact that your experiences in the levels are hallucinations or nightmares, they are never going to be the same twice around. The levels aren't built with the same level of love as Dusk or the original Doom, but in the context of the story behind the levels it makes sense after all. These are levels in somebody's head, so they can get away with being sort of sloppy as even the most vivid dreams are kinda hazy in some details, at least in my experience. At the end of every level, your character will awake from her nightmare. In doing so, you're allowed to take any level 1 weapon to the next stage. Now, the tiles they use to texture map the levels and the walls can clash with the sprites of the enemies, but these can be fine-tuned in the settings to your liking, so you can strike your own balance between retro and blinding. Nightmare Reaper costs £14.49 sterling, which should be roughly $18.74 dollarinos, and that should be €16 flat. Crossbow Bloodnight, the wannabe Van Helsing. Well, Crossbow Bloodnight is basically a much prettier version of Devil Daggers that I reviewed in my last Modern Boomer Shooters video. You spawn into an arena, it's a courtyard with what looks like a fountain in the centre. At least in this game I actually know sort of where I am, as in Devil Daggers I could have been inside of Doomguy's anus for all I knew. But there are zombies and bats that spawn from giant towering monstrosities and werewolves. It's basically Van Helsing COD zombies. It's really fun for what it is though. Armed with the titular crossbow you have to survive for as long as possible, which like Devil Daggers isn't going to be long. You have two modes of fire with the crossbow. You can tap to release a spray of bolts like a 12-gauge shotgun, or you can hold down the fire button and become death incarnate with a fucking crossbow minigun. And again, like in Devil Daggers, it has the scoreboard system so you compare your shockingly bad survival times to your friends. This game exerts its overwhelming sense of campy horror from the likes of Dracula and Frankenstein's monster. It has a lovely Lovecraftian feel to it, but it's actually set in the year 1139, around about the latter half of Pope Innocent II's tenure. But in the game's setting, good old Popus Innocent II Catholic Boogaloo has decreed that crossbows should not be used due to their ungodly demonic power. But Popey, they can shoot heretics, don't you know? You are one of an ancient order of hunters called the Coven of the Crossbow, and you have a more pressing issue. An ancient horror from beyond has arrived in their reality. This ancient evil has brought swaths of evil creatures with it, and it's up to you to send them back to where they came from, just like you're LARPing as some kind of medieval immigration control with crossbows. And again, like Devil Daggers, Crossbow Bloodnight is really cheap. It's actually cheaper than Devil Daggers, coming to the jaw-dropping, eye-watering price of £1.99, which is around $2.57 or €2.20, give or take. Hedon. So Hedon was technically originally a mod for Doom, specifically GZ Doom, a popular source port of Doom. It uses no assets from the original game and even adds its new content. Really, it's its own entity just using the Doom engine, just like many other actual boomer shooters such as Hex and Strife and Heretic. So you play as Zan, an orc who, to say the least about her character, is thick. Like, I would not hesitate to start slapping orc cheeks in this universe. Hexen has a story that's where your orc town has been invaded a la Doom 2 style, but the story is largely unraveled to you in-game, no cutscenes, just through you playing the levels and reading the occasional note scrolled across the floor. It is a surprisingly deep, lore-rich game. Now, the game has puzzles and platforming, but both feel rather satisfying, kind of like in Doom 2016, where the puzzles and platforming complement the gameplay rather than hindering it. And of course, it wouldn't be a Doom-inspired game without a dirty little face as your health bar, that yes, while you do have a health number to clearly represent the health, your face gets progressively bloodier, making Zan look bloody berserk. There's also armour that works exactly like Doom. The weapon selection is pretty lit too. You have your fists because, you know, you're a fucking orc, a literal berserker that should rightfully be capable of ripping a human's spine out through their arse and then strangling them with it. You acquire this fire gauntlet pretty early on in the game, allowing you to launch firebolts at enemies. Very satisfying blasting a demon away with one of these suckers. You get an axe because fantasy setting, and you can kick like in Duke Nukem. You'll find a spike gun which acts like an assault rifle. There's also a combination shotgun which doubles up as a flamethrower, a crossbow that heats explosives at your victims, and a potion launcher which can fire toxic grenades which can be ignited to make explosive toxic grenades. This can also launch acid grenades which will cover your target and burn them away with corrosive acid. And last but not least, the Crylance, which uses power crystals and acts as Hedon's BFG. Now this game might piss off the feminists because all of the orcs appear to be female and wearing very revealing clothing, but I mean, I'm not complaining. If you play on Berserk, your normal selection of weapons will be swapped out for a unique set of weapons to piss about with. You'll get this minimap called the Scroll of Wizard's Eye that will fill out the map as you traverse it, making it a bit easier to navigate to when you inevitably have to backtrack to the door after you find the key for it. I must say, Hedon looks amazing for a Doom engine game that, whilst looking unmistakably retro, it breathes a new life into the Doom engine. The lighting and sprite work is phenomenal, the sound work is beautiful, the weapons sound punchy, and the sound demon makes when they die is really satisfying. It's like ASMR but for the Doomslayer. Alexander Brandon, of DSX fame, has composed a lot of the music for Hedon and it sounds amazing. I was instantly headbanging upon loading up the main menu and hearing that metal soundtrack. The game masterfully goes from some Slayer metal to unsettling ambience as the pacing calls for it. Hedon will set you back £7.19, which will be around $9.29 or €7.94. Shrine and Shrine 2. Shrine 1 and 2 are both very similar to Hedon, in that they are both retro FPS games, as they should be, it's kind of what my video is about, and that they are both spawned from the Doom engine. I can't find anything to say that Shrine started out life as a mod though. Shrine has you play as someone called Tusk, a skinless individual of whom is hell-bent on destroying the demons in a graveyard. Yes, it's Doom Graveyard Edition. Now, the thing that really annoyed me about Shrine 1 upon loading it up is that there is this horrible sound effect that plays when you cycle options, and it plays all the way through before playing the same sound again if you move more than one setting in the options. It really grates on you after a while. Now, there is an optional HUD, but I cannot for the life of me work out how to enable it. There's a lot of settings in the HUD settings of this game, and it's a maze to work out what you want to enable. There is supposedly a HUD that displays health, ammo, armor, and your weapon. I'm just struggling to find it. I'll add something in if I manage to work it out. Apparently it should be enabled by default, but it wasn't for me. But yeah, it's an impressive looking game that looks very retro, like the first Doom, but uses mouse controls to aim and the like. I know technically the original Doom had this, but it feels so much better here than in the original Doom. There's a variety of weapons, from a revolver, a bone shotgun, a double shotty, and a bone sword that acts kind of like Doomslayer's arm knife predator attachment thingy from Doom Eternal. Shrine 2 looks like the same sort of thing really, only with a more refined HUD, again it's completely optional to turn this on, and a few new weapons as well as the ability to dual wield certain weapons. There looks to be a few new enemy types too. And wahey, the Steam forums came through for me. You can cycle screen sizes and HUDs with plus and minus keys. Pressing the minus key twice, I think, enables the HUD. Thank you to the kind sir who informed me of this. I would have never figured that one out. Enjoy the award I gifted your post, and even in a time like this, there are still heroes out there among us. But do you want to know the best part about these two games? They are both free. They are full games available on Steam for zilch, diddly squat, not a penny in cost. Have your fill, you bastards. BPM, bullets per minute. I have a lot to say about BPM, not all of it good. It's a really unique experience. It mashes together a flurry of different genres into this weird bastardization of a roguelike FPS with the timing and rhythm of something like Guitar Hero. So BPM is a game where you have to time your actions to the electro-rock beat of the game's soundtrack. You shoot on the beat, you reload on the half beat. You fuck up your timing and your pew-pew stick is going to jam like it's got bladder paresis and you're in the john of a very public place. Luckily, your enemy's attacks are tied to the beat also, so you aren't at a complete disadvantage, however it does take some definite getting used to. The issue I run into with this game is that it's obviously inspired by Doom, a game that has its own sort of rhythm. In Doom, you are put into an arena and told to kill everything and do not stop moving until you do only thing left to move. But with BPM, the danger rhythm is there, but it's held back by you responding to the rhythm of the beat at the same time. A sort of inner conflict that could very well lead to multiple personality disorder. One half of you wanting to murder everything and the other wanting to headbang to Norse-inspired synth metal. Oh yeah, I didn't mention, this game has a very strong Norse influence. It's a very bizarre mix of influences and genres that blend together to make a very odd game. I'm not fully sure it fits as smoothly together, kind of like having rum and coke and adding a metric shit ton of vodka to it after the fact. Oh god, why? But casuals rejoice, you can turn off the rhythm by enabling auto rhythm mode. This means you aren't constrained by the soundtrack anymore. Who cares that an enemy can knock a quarter of your health out in one single hit, because now I can doom it up, running, jumping and blasting away until my heart's content. Bosses become a challenge rather than a chore and the game feels a bit more enjoyable because of it. It's a good idea, but the roguelike aspect of it hinders the game from the rhythm of the game. You could get a great weapon capable of one-hitting enemies, in which case all you will have to do is focus on aiming and getting the rhythm down. Or you could get shafted and be stuck with the starting pistol that doesn't do anywhere near enough damage for a game with a gameplay loop like this. But if you stick with it long enough, you can get used to the rhythm-based gameplay, I guess. That's something I shall definitely attempt to do. But yes, BPM is a diamond in the rough type of game. You just need a chisel and a lot of patience to get to it. BPM costs $15.49, which should be around $20.03 or €17.10. And finally, we are at the last entry for part 2. I give you the Citadel, or Waifu Stole My Wolfenstein. Okay, the Citadel, where do I begin? This game is actually pretty neat despite its weeby coating. It's not too bad, and the enemies look like rejected character designs from Wolfenstein: The New Order. When you blast them into jibs, they blow up into anime waifus beneath the armour, so it isn't overly intrusive art style, but I do get the chance to shotgun some waifu trash. Die weebs. But yeah, it kind of has that Nier Automata vibe to it whilst being a Wolfenstein Doom clone. This game is very similar to games such as Rise of the Triad or the Marathon trilogy, where the main protagonist will traverse through narrow corridors blasting anything that dares show its weeby face. There are a few weapons to choose from here, ranging from your standard revolver-like pistol, shotgun, assault rifle, bazooka, to more exotic weapons such as a device that allows you to call in a missile strike on a group of unsuspecting cultists, or a sniper rifle with the unique ability to shoot through several enemies and even some walls. The game also allows you to kick, a la Duke Nukem or Postal, which, while not the most useful attack, is at least fun to do. You can kick some cultists off bridges or walls, and it's just a very enjoyable experience. Throughout your playthrough, you'll encounter a mysterious girl who I swear looks like the Hat Kid from A Hat in Time. This girl is called Taiko, and she is a merchant. She'll sell you ammo, armour, or can upgrade any of your guns, which can increase your ammo, optics, and such like. So yes, as I mentioned, you can kick in this game, something that's not entirely obvious. You can also sprint and aim down sights, more things I had no idea about until I was an hour in and stumbled across by chance. So, one unique thing about this game's health system is that while you have a bar for health, you also have a bar for O2, which acts as your stamina. You also have a food bar, which needs to be kept up, otherwise the less food your character, the martyr, has, the less health you will have. Supplies are generously scattered throughout levels, but you can still run out at the worst moments. The way you reload some weapons in this game is sort of unique, at least to me. I bet somebody will be able to rattle off countless examples of games doing this before the Citadel with the revolver and shotgun, where you only load one bullet at a time, meaning that when it's time for a fresh set of shells, you have to spam R tapping it once for each shell. I guess in the long run, that can be annoying, but I thought it was a neat little touch at least. I will say that in some areas the game feels a little bit dull, like in its level design being flush with the same grey-blue tint and monotonous gameplay even for a retro shooter. The bosses feel a little underwhelming too. But yes, this game has a lot of interesting ideas, and seeing as it was made by one guy who, yes, while he did eventually get a studio to back him up and help him out, this game started out as a pure passion project, and that is commendable. The game is still enjoyable, even if not a bit dull at times. I like the art style of it. It is satisfying to shoot things in this game, even if they are weebs. But I guess it is worth it for the sort of generous price of £11.39, which should be around $14.73 or €12.57. And that concludes episode 2 of Boomer Shooter Review. I've already found enough for a few more episodes, so if you want to see them, you know what to do. See any games here to take your fancy? Pick them up. I want to grow the Boomer Shooter audience, and I need your help to do it. Despite the fact I was born in '98, which technically, according to Google, makes me Gen Z. Oh god, oh no, why? But you know the score. You like anything you see here? Blast a like, tell me what you think in the comments, and subscribe if you're new here. At the time of writing this script, I'm approaching 200 subscribers. Not a big number, but it matters to me, so thank you all. I'd ask you all to subscribe if you like what you see from my last Boomer Shooters video, as over 98% of the viewers weren't subscribed to me. Only about 20 views of the 1700 came from subscribers. Rip me. But thank you anyway. Tell you what, if you sat this far through, even though I can't stand weeby waifu shit, I will play The Last of Waifus, which a friend gifted me as a joke. Let's say if this video gets 60 likes, I will suffer through it.
How doing you are, boys and girls? Make sure to PapaScho you subscribe, or have to do this to you. I will.